And another question would be, where do national politics come into play on a localized level? I know when I was out there campaigning for people, you constantly hear questions or concerns about things that are out of our jurisdiction in a small local area. But where do they come into play that you can answer to when you're talking to people?
Well, yeah, that's exactly. I mean, you're absolutely down the right track on that. We have um, right now, I would say the national politics are affecting local officials. You know, in a community like Columbia City that tends to lean fairly Republican,
Mm-hmm.
we have Republican council members that are a little nervous, frankly, because of the anti-incumbent mood. I'm sure that there are Democrats that have that same type of feeling. Um, I know that in the last election we had last year, there was a commissioner who I think is very well known and well respected around the community. Tends to be he is a Democrat, but tends to lean moderate.
Yeah, yeah.
He was booted out of office for basically an unknown candidate. Both are great. You know, he was a great commissioner. Our current commissioner is very good, but it was the anti-incumbent move that really trickled down to even to the county level. And with that, you have to kind of have that idea of, okay, well, how does that play into these local races? Now, with that being said, you have 50, well, somewhere around 50% of the population. It's actually usually less than that, but in huge presidential elections, you get close to that 50%. Here at the local level, we tend to see somewhere between 10 and 20% turnout. So you have to be a lot more targeted in your approach, but you do see those national issues trickling down to the local level, specifically on budgets. So that is an issue.
How do you communicate that to the average person? I mean, the average person who's watching us right now might not always see how they connect as far as national budget to a localized budget. Where do they come into play to explain that to somebody?
Yeah, well, and I think the way that we've been explaining it is that, here at the local level, there's only a few things that we really deal with that could be called partisan.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be either spending or not spending, either being progressive about your plan, and that word sometimes is looked at as dirty, but it's really not.
Well, especially in our area.
Yeah, so that's exactly right. Being forward thinking and being progressive in the way that you think and look forward to building the community.
Mm-hmm.
We don't deal with social issues. We have no control over whether a baby can be aborted or not, whether homosexuals can marry or not, whether or not we should do stem cell research. That has nothing to do with city government, but it's still an important issue to people.
Mm-hmm.
So, when individuals ask for your opinion on that, my typical response is, that's really not something the mayor or the city government would deal with. Now, if you're wanting my personal opinion, here's what it is.
Right.
But just know that has no effect on our city government because we have no control over those issues.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, my next question would be, let's see here. What goes into brass balls always follow the money, and you did talk about that briefly before. What sort of fundraising do you have to go through on a local level? Yeah, go ahead and take it from there.
Yeah, no, I think there's different levels of that, and every candidate does it differently. There are many candidates that self-fund, that they have enough money in their bank account that they can run their own campaign however they want it, and they pay for it themselves. You still have to set up the committee to pay for it, but they basically can pay for it themselves.
Mm-hmm.
For my campaign personally, we first started out in the primary asking individuals who, like I said, know us and love us for donations.
Mm-hmm.
We held a dance fundraiser, which was I won't say real successful, but it was fun at the very least. And then we held a pancake breakfast, which was a little more successful.
Mm-hmm.
This last weekend, actually, this last Saturday, we held a 5K, and we actually got some wonderful participation with that. Made a lot more money than we had in past fundraisers. So we're learning slowly but surely how to do fundraisers for political events on the local level. With that being said, I think at the local level, your fish fries, your pancake breakfast, your food type events are always, not always, mostly the bigger fundraisers, because people will always come out to eat. People don't necessarily like to run in 5Ks. They don't necessarily like to, you know, dance or do anything like that, but everyone likes food. And so it's always a wonderful fundraiser to do something with food.
And those are great ways to raise money. Are there any donators in a smaller town? When you go to business, do you find that there are groups that are prepared to donate? And do you have to go to them, or do you usually have your party or your people go and say, look, this is our guy this year?
Right. Well, there are definitely some outside dollars that are up in the air. Typically speaking, those outside dollars go to the incumbent. Because of our race having no incumbent, those dollars are literally, well, I wouldn't say literally, they are kind of up for grabs.
Yeah.
In the effect that they are, those businesses are looking for who they believe are going to win, whether it be by your party, whether it be by you know, margins in the primary, whatever it may be. Those companies are looking for who they can give money to help benefit. Now, of course, you always have the question of, okay, they're giving that money, what do they expect back? At the local level, there are always contracts and things like that you have to deal with. Now, I think anyone in their right mind, or anyone that is to be an effective leader, would say, listen, I'll take your donations, but just so you know, when it comes to the point where we see let's just say five different architectural firms that are looking at putting in X, Y, or Z building that the city is going to own, we're going to find the most effective and the cheapest building possible while still meeting all the codes. That's because we only have a certain amount of money that we can spend on projects. That's the way you have to go about it, you know. Now, you'll have those engineering firms or those architectural firms or those different companies that want to play a role. But I think, at least how I've ran my campaign, is that they understand that, listen, everything is going to be a competition. Don't expect to get a contract because you're giving me dollars, or you're giving, you know, my competitor dollars, or whoever. Don't expect to be getting contracts from that, because that's, first of all, it's not clean. Second of all, it's not proper. And third, it's not a great use of taxpayer funds to be lining the pockets of your buddies.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of things that you always have to deal with as a candidate, especially when you go farther up the ranks.
I always like the old saying, you're not tough enough for politics if you can't take someone's money and vote against them.
That's right. I love that. Yep.
Well, what's the last question? And I appreciate your time. Last question would just be, what's your favorite thing about running for office? But also at the same time, what's something you just are aggravated with? And I understand you love doing it enough that you put up with it, but what's something that just kind of doesn't always sit well with you, that you just don't enjoy doing? Go ahead.
Right. I would say the best thing that I really enjoyed doing, and it obviously happened in the primary, and it'll happen in the general election again, is walking door to door is just so fulfilling. It's a ton of work, and it's tiring, and your legs hurt, and you'll get some doors slammed in your face, and some people will curse at you because you're the wrong party or because you're a politician. But honestly speaking, you get to hear the true frustrations and the true joys of your citizens. When we were going door to door, I can remember one neighborhood where there was one guy who said some very explicit language about me being a politician. And the next door, even though there were a different party, they were very open and welcoming and gave me some suggestions of ways to make the city better. So the door to door and the interaction of people. Now, I'm a people person, so that's probably why it's. But the interaction between people, the citizens, and you was my favorite part, and is my favorite part of campaigning. The part I hate the worst, I'll say hate because I really hate it,
Cool.
is that in a local community, you have a lot of people that know a lot of people, and there are some people that don't like you, and they will start outlandish rumors about you just to tear you down. The way we've addressed it in my campaign is we've on our website, we've done a rumor report. So basically, we address every rumor we hear, from whether it's from Joe Schmo or if it's our best friend. We address every rumor we hear. And a lot of those are unfortunate because they are not truthful. And most of them, if not all of them, are not truthful. Some of them are just a twist on something you said. And I know it happens at the national and the state level, but here at the local level, when the candidates don't live any more than a mile away from each other, it's unfortunate that happens in the campaigns. My opinion has always been that if you do everything the right way, that you are above the fold, if you will, and you are continually being truthful and honest with people, and you run the best campaign, then people are going to see that. My opinion is, if you don't have a good candidate, or you're not confident that your candidate will win, that's when you start rumors about the other person to tear them down. And that's I hope that's not going to happen here in the general election. And I look forward to it, and not looking forward to the rumors.
Well, and that definitely brings up the other point about campaigning and going door to door, and especially in a small town like you're in, like I'm in, is that because it's such a small, tight-knit community and everybody knows each other, there's a lot of prejudice towards certain people's names in the area. So when those people run, you're deciding to vote or not vote on him depending on his cousin that you went to school with, or whether you like that guy. And there are a lot more prejudices you have to deal with in those smaller little communities. So anyone who ever wanted to run has got to go door to door. And I think that I don't want a politician who doesn't like to go door to door.
Right. Oh, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, I thank you. Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think you're absolutely right in the fact that, at the local level, it can get more personal, I think. I mean, I'm sure it's personal when they say, this presidential candidate or this person is doing this or this.
Yeah, you take it personally.
Yeah, but when you're hearing it from individuals, or you're hearing it that it came from an individual that that you may have grown up with, or that you trust in some way, shape, or form, it does kind of sting a little bit more. But hey, to be in politics, you have to have thick skin. That's for
absolutely. Absolutely. Hey, I want to thank you again for your time. This has been awesome, and I want to hopefully maybe catch up again before the election, and maybe even afterwards. Let's do a little retrospect type thing.
That'd be great. I'd love it. Thanks, James.
All right, thanks. Take care, Ryan.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye.